Um, just now you mentioned that thoughts are visual cues and wordings or descriptions. Is sensation thoughts also, or they are apart?
Yeah, so the names are less important.
Right.
Everything can be considered a thought at the ultimate level because everything occurs as an appearance of mind. So if we was to go right to the very basic, we would say that everything that appears is the dynamic energy of consciousness, and we call that dynamic energy thoughts. And we can call it things as well and sensations, but ultimately it's a movement within consciousness. But for general conversation, I like to think of sensations is what happens in the body,
Mm,
thoughts happen in the mind,
mm,
and they comprise, if you look, they comprise of words and images. So words and images and sensations is the majority of our basic activity. But then, as humans, we have the capacity to describe and speculate what's happening or what they mean. And from that, we create emotions and we create stories. So I call these wise stories: words, images, sensations, emotions, and stories. And what you find is that if you undo the story, if you set the story aside, the emotions reduce, and then you're left with words, images, and sensations. And they emanate at a very subtle level the nature of bliss, Sat Chit Ananda. A sensation without a story is just a sensation. I'll give you an example. I get bitten by mosquitoes in Thailand, and it used to irritate me. And when I looked into it, well, it used to hurt. When I looked into it, I noticed there was a sensation and an irritation. And when I started allowing the irritation to just be as it is, to subside, then what I was left with was the sensation. And it's still not something I'd put my hand up to receive every day, but it had a quality that was very different to the one where I'm describing it as an irritation. And then, if you look even more deeply in your own practice or time, the act of knowing anything is what they mean by the bliss of consciousness. It's not the bliss like, wow, amazing. It's it's just how pleasurable sensing anything is. If the other day, and then I'll put it back to you. The other day, I saw a dog that came up to me in the road, and my bicycle was stopped, and it came up, and it was sniffing my leg, sniffing the tires, having a look at the bike, and it just seemed like it was in bliss, just to enjoy the power to know, free from descriptions. So, your question was, is that also a thought? I like to think as everything as the dynamic energy of my being, which is inseparable from consciousness itself. But on a discussion and practical level, I use those four categories that I described.